Coming up on the 70% podcast. Amy Alexander is in studio and Mike Sewell on Zoom call with a very special guest. His name is Edward Speck, but we affectionately call him Neighbor Ed.
You want my true output on Trump? I'll be quick.
That's what we're here for.
I'll be real quick.
We don't lie on this show.
I've never watched an episode of Apprentice, and my dad was still alive at the time, and he was a dyed-in-the-wool Republican, and myself as well. He and I sat and watched what he did to Atlantic City. And he declared bankruptcy several times over. He destroyed small businesses. He destroyed people's lives. And what really pissed me off was he got onto his airplane after that, after signing bankruptcy papers with his lawyers. He washed his hands in his little gold sink, and he went on to the next thing.
The 70%, when the silent majority, and that's the thing, they're the people that, like, why is everybody so afraid to come together and talk about this stuff?
I had I'm doing this in quotations, friend on Facebook unfriend me because of my political beliefs. And that was it. It had nothing to do with anything I said or did or anything like that. I just said, this is where I fall. And he was like, okay, bye. I'm like, all right, then. See you later.
Right.
The 70% podcast with your host, Amy Alexander and Mike Sewell.
You know, when we talk about the 70% being the silent majority, because we have the radicals on each side that are just fighting with each other, the 70%, when the silent majority, and that's the thing, they're the people that, like, why is everybody so afraid to come together and talk about this stuff?
Is it afraid, or are they just
repercussions, Mike? You're not going to get invited to Thanksgiving. People are losing for real. People are losing relationships over this.
Right.
This is true. I had I'm doing this in quotations, friend on Facebook unfriend me because of my political beliefs. And that was it. It had nothing to do with anything I said or did or anything like that. I just said, this is where I fall. And he was like, okay, bye. I'm like, all right, then. See you later.
Right. And there are people that I've unfriended on Facebook, but it was
15% on that hard side. They don't want to listen to anyone else's opinion or thoughts or anything like that. They're right and you're wrong, and that's just the end.
Right. Well, and I've unfriended people on the hard right too, because I'm like, oh my God, you are not helping us at all. Well, first of all, right is Republican, left is Democrat, according to everybody. And that if you are one or the other, then you must absolutely have these beliefs. And nobody is considering the fact that it isn't even Republican and Democrat that we should be worried about. It should be we should be worried about government people. Yeah. Government versus the people, because this is the Republicans and the Democrats are all, I don't care who they are, they're all benefiting from our labors in order for them to, there might be a few that are just taking their $176,000 a year and, whatever.
There's none of them. None of them are doing that.
Right.
Would you? I mean, seriously, you're in office, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Some stock tip comes across the table. Are you not going to invest in that? Are you going to say, "Oh no, I'm not going to invest"?
If it's okay for me to do that, if it was totally illegal,
it is okay, and it is okay because you're in Congress. It shouldn't be okay for you to do it, but it is. So, aren't you going to take advantage of that?
Well, how about instead of term limits, then we work on getting rid of the perks so that they don't want to be in Congress.
And who the hell is going into politics?
The people that really want to fix things. And are just not in it for the money.
What are the perks? The perks are that they get that they can't just stab somebody in the neck when they're in Congress and get away with it.
Right.
In office and get away with it.
You can't. Right.
They have been cracking down on insider trading. They have been getting more and more vigilant of people truly taking advantage of their political position. You see it here and there and now and then. I know it's still rampant. I know it still happens every day and it's probably happening at this very moment. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that that we are becoming more responsible.
Where are you hearing those stories at?
I get all my news from MSN. MSN brings together everything from Fox to CBS to CNN. And I've read a number of articles that have people getting in to deep water and
Are
getting
they
subpoenaed.
mostly Republican or mostly Democrat?
I don't notice one way or the other. I often don't. And it's not something that I truly look into. It's not in my interest box, so I don't actually read into the article. But I have seen those articles go by. MSN shows you about 20 articles every time you load up www.msn.com. It'll scroll through about 20 different articles. Like I said, from every news outlet there is. Well, almost every. But they're, and some of the headlines I see is so-and-so and so-and-so just got busted for, insider trading. And I think we're
And
becoming.
then what? They get a slap in the hand?
I hope not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the more we hear about it, I think there's going to be more and more. You can't get away with nearly as much as you could, back in JFK days. I don't think that that people are able to benefit as much as they could even 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Too many cameras, too many.
Right.
Many,
Yep.
Well, that's why they want to
everything's
erase.
documented.
That's why now we have the freaking news police and they're erasing stuff. They are literally, they have the algorithms to pull the words out that they want
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
pull it down. They've been working on this for years.
we know this.
Years and years. They don't have you register for everything you buy because they want to keep track of who has the stuff. They want to, everything that you do is tracked. And now they want to do the bank accounts too. But in the meantime, they just
Scary.
want to keep us fighting. Because that's the best way to make sure that we don't come together and figure out what's going on and oust their sorry asses and kick them to the curb.
I just hope that we see more and more accountability and as we go along. Look at Billy Clinton. He couldn't even get away with a little internship action on the pool table. But JFK sure did.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting closer and closer to accountability for our political representatives.
Scary transparency.
Yep.
Is basically what it is.
But-
Careful what you wish for. Yeah.
I know. So I think it's getting better, but it's a slow, arduous thing.
In the meantime, let's do a $3.5 trillion package so that we can help our who are we helping with all this money that we're spending? Inflation's going up. Wages are staying stagnant because they're going to have to go up because nobody can get anybody to work.
Yep, that's capitalism. Capitalism will work with the wages. They'll have to go up.
Right. And then gas prices, now they're talking about more tax on gas. Now they're talking about mileage tax.
They've been talking about mileage tax for about 10 years. And here's the issue. And here's what drives me bonkers on mileage tax is that you are now penalizing the person that goes out and buys a hybrid or the person that buys a Tesla. You are,
Even though they're all about the green energy.
but what
That's why they put the mileage tax in place so they can
extract from.
Right. Otherwise, they can't tax you on gas.
Right, exactly. But the roads still need to be fixed. It doesn't matter if a bunch of Teslas are driving on the roads or a bunch of cars are driving on the roads with gasoline. Now, in the old days, it was super simple. You tax the gas. Whoever buys the most gas pays the most to fix the roads. Now, with the hybrids in the electric cars, you've got people that are driving themselves silly all over the place, and they're not paying anything for the roads because they're not buying gas.
Why aren't they taxing the electricity just like they tax the fossil fuel?
They do tax electricity, but not at the same rate.
They can't be driving too far because the car only goes for so far.
Well, a Tesla
Tesla goes
will go
400.
300 miles,
Yeah,
400 miles. Yeah, no, that's not an
Actually,
argument
I've been
anymore.
watching-
Before it needs to be recharged.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, Tesla, and it goes 0 to...
Oh, it's bloody
Oh my
fast.
God.
The Plaid will
Zero.
blow the doors off of the 8-liter Mopar out there. So
oh my God, yeah.
it's crazy
like the
fast.
fastest,
Yeah.
I used to think 4.2 seconds was whatever. It's like 2.2 seconds.
Yep.
It's going...
No, I understand what the government's doing with the mileage. They've also talked about putting GPSs in all our cars and tracking it that way, and that's a nightmare too. But there does need to be a solution because because that you do have a desperate loss of revenue for the states to repair the roads. Now, here in Wisconsin, we know that better than anybody. Right. Our roads last 20 years tops. Down south, they last 50 years. But here, we got to rebuild our roads all the time. And most of that money does come from the exorbitant amount of taxation on each gallon of gas.
Right. Do you think that our taxing, let me rephrase this. Do you think that they should be looking at their spending before they're looking at more income?
Oh, there's absolutely spending cuts to be had. No doubt. You can argue that all day. That's an easy sell. But I think rather than cutting Social Security, Medicaid, and those items, those aren't where you get your spending cuts. Your spending cuts comes from improved efficiency. You see, I worked for local county.
Right. And because keep in mind, everybody, Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid, we've been paying into that from our paychecks since the day we started getting paychecks. Mm-hmm. That has been a required. And now they're calling it what do they call it?
Entitlement?
Entitlement.
Right.
Thank you.
So, I worked for local government and I saw inefficiency beyond measure. I can't even imagine what it's like at state and federal. But when we look at cutting government costs, we don't want to look at, let's not give them, food stamps. Let's cut off, this pile of people for food stamps. Let's stop giving all these people health care. Those aren't the savings you need. The savings you need is in red tape and inefficiencies of our government.
Yeah, but they'll never admit that that's what the people are always going to be the problem because we're not paying them enough for the things that they need, quote unquote.
The sad state of affairs is there's too many people pushing pencils around. I remember, so we had to buy a computer, and that computer had to go across 6 desks in the county and just to get approval to be done and to be purchased. And then they went out and purchased it. It was a year and a half later. And for the money, we got half of what we should have gotten. And it was this huge process. That's why it does cost $150 for a hammer. It's not because they went to the local hardware store and bought a hammer for $150. It's because they bought a $4 hammer, but these 10 people had to approve that. And that piece of paper had to go from this person to this person to this person to this person. And by the time you add up all their time, effort, energy, that's a $150 hammer. That's what's got to stop. That's where our government can save money, not in cutting social programs. I just want to, that's my big thing.
The use it or lose it thought process also.
Oh yeah, that sucks. There's so much waste. There's so much waste in that. I saw it where we had an extra $20,000 and it's like, well, we're not going to get that next year if we don't spend it. So we went out to a landowner that didn't even need work. We did non-point source pollution abatement through the DNR, and we had an extra $10,000 sitting in the account and about a week to spend it. And we're like, well, let's go get this guy. He doesn't need it. It won't do any good to the environment, but at least we'll get that money next year. That's a horrible issue that has to be solved.
Yeah, and that's Governmental Accounting 101 is, I have an accounting degree and I studied that in somewhat governmental accounting, and it's not handled like a business whatsoever. It's, you have appropriations, and basically if you earmark the money, then you get to keep the money, even if you don't spend the money, or you have to spend the money. Otherwise, you're not going to get the money next year. But do you really need it? I mean, it's just, there's so much stuff going in the budget that's just automatic. Oh, here's last year's budget.
There'd be less waste of those dollars. So, say you give, I don't know, say your budget this year is $50,000. You need $50,000 to take care of whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the year, you didn't use 10,000 of the 50. And so next year, instead of giving you 50, they give you 40. Mm-hmm. Now that gives you 50 anyway. What's wrong with doing it that way? Why say, we're not going to give you the whole kit and caboodle because you didn't need it. So this year, since you didn't need 50 and all you needed was 40, we're just going to give you 40 and we're going to take the 10 back. You know what I mean? It does not make sense.
Right. But they don't do that, Well, and I think it's partly the way that's set up on the books, and partly the attitude or the habits of the people that work in government, because they know that if they don't spend that money, well, we're not going to get it next year. Well, if you didn't need it this year, are you sure you don't need it next year? I mean, so you're just putting this cycle together of spending what you are given instead of spending what you need.
Right. No, that's very true.
And
let me tell you the story of why I quit. Okay, so I quit the county in 1997, and I was at the budget meeting. It was a county board budget meeting in front of full county board, and we had a $2 million budget in our department. And 200,000 of that 2 million, so 10% of the 2 million actually came from the county. The rest was state and federal grants. And we sat there, and our budget was up for approval. And a specific city councilman, Guy Zimmer is his name. He's been there forever.
Isn't he still in there?
He might still be in there. He might be in the city now. I don't know. But he's been there since the 80s. My dad called him a schmuck. And he truly was a schmuck. But anyway, Guy Zimmer, on our $2 million budget, he stood up and he said, I don't like this line item. It was a magazine subscription that we would read the magazines. It was a $150 line item in our $2 million budget. And he said, I don't like this. We need to take this out of here. And we explained that, no, we use that to get grants. And, that's very useful. It's not a lot of money. Nope. I don't like that. For 20 minutes, that man stood up and argued over this $150 line item. Now, you look around the room, you imagine a full county board meeting with all of the executive staff of the county all sitting there waiting for their budgets to be approved. And you look around the room and you're like, oh my God, dude, you just wasted $7,800 worth of people's time, effort, energy, salary over a $150 line item. And that's the day I quit the county. I'm like, this is a tail wagging the dog. I can't take it anymore. I'm out. And, and you could say, well, the guy Zimmer is known as the county watchdog, right? He watches everybody and makes sure that nobody spends inappropriately and this and that.
But he's known as a lot of other things.
I know, right? Isn't that the truth?
The county racist. What else?
Yeah. Oh, he's a sausage thief. Remember in the late 80s, early 90s, he got caught shoplifting sausages in a local grocery store.
Was he in office at the point?
Oh, yeah. No, he was a county board supervisor. He was a county board supervisor.
And he got caught shoplifting.
When I was at the county in 95, he was quoted in the Press Gazette as saying, now you realize this district is Broadway. It's East Side Green Bay, near East Side Green Bay downtown. And he was quoted in the paper of saying, if I see a Mexican on the corner in my district on his cell phone, I know for a fact they're selling drugs. And he was quoted verbatim in the Press Gazette. That man is still involved in local politics.
Is.
And they keep him in politics.
I know. He's still there.
Outspoken.
And this is the point of the show. Like, people, we need to collectively pay attention to the things like this to make sure that they don't get voted, because they're being voted in.
Yep.
Guy Zimmer doesn't get.
Do you know how he does that though? He goes to one of the local car dealers and he rents vans and he goes around his neighborhood and he picks up all the little old ladies and he drives them to the polling station. Who do you think you're going to pull that trigger for if Guy Zimmer rented a van to get you to the polling station?
Yeah.
You're going to vote for Guy Zimmer. He started, you know what his last job was before becoming a politician? He was an usher at the movie theater. He would usher people to their seats. The old, it was 5-6 for a while. Now I think it's called the Carlton.
Yeah, it's called the Carlton, and it was West Picture Show.
Yep. That. So, he was an usher there. And then he became a slumlord and started, had a bunch of properties and would take all of his tenants and bring them to the polling station and say, okay, guess who to vote for? And he's been in local politics since the 80s. And like my dad said, he is a schmuck. Yep. Right. Yeah. I know.
And I don't think Green Bay is definite. It's not as messed up, or what is the word? Maybe it is as corrupt as our federal government. I don't know. We have assholes.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've had there's been corruption here and there, but nothing on the level that even the state of Wisconsin can put together. As you go up in levels of government, like I said, I've got a lot of experience at the county level, but you go up to the state level, it's going to be twice as bad. Mm-hmm. The red tape, the tail wagging the dog, the corruption. And then federal level is going to be 3 times as bad as that yet.
Right.
And there's, I don't know the solution for that other than we have to become more efficient. We have to find efficiency in what we do and how we do it.
We have to put people in office that are going to look to be able to put those efficiencies in place.
Right.
Though.
Absolutely.
Like, remember when Barack Obama? Yeah.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
I said, remember when Barack Obama in his pitch for his first term said, "I'm going to go through the budget line by line, and I'm going to that didn't happen.
No.
What?
It sounded good on the TV set. That was it. That's all that was.
And that's what people buy into.
The guy that I wish were still around is Steve Jobs. I think Steve Jobs of Apple could have gone and done one bang up job at the executive level. He was very soothing and interesting to listen to, and he could have gone in there and said, "Okay, this is stupid. We're going to do this, and this. We need." We need a true businessman, someone who isn't going to play politics when they get in there, and they're actually going to look at the way that the government is run and the way that the government is done, and truly streamline it.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is anymore though, because Bill Gates kind of fell out of favor lately.
Oh my God!
And Elon Musk is a bit he's a bit of a loose cannon.
Yeah, he's a little eccentric.
Right. I would be too. I mean, I'd be eccentric too if I had an electric truck and all that kind of stuff.
If I could put a rocket in space.
I know, right. Speaking of Captain Kirk, now there is a stud, right? I mean, not to get off topic, but
yes, you are
Captain
getting off
Kirk
topic.
is a stud. Okay, I'm done.
All right. Well, now I've got like Captain Kirk. Why am I? Which made me think of Mork from Robin Williams, Mork and Mindy.
Oh, was
I
he
don't
an
know
amazing man? That guy was something.
Yeah. We need to, like Mike said, we need to find a way to get the silent majority to speak up. And it doesn't even have to be speaking up in public or, No,
speaking up at the polls.
At the polls.
Here's what we need to do. We need to figure out, like on a local level, who can we vote for in Green Bay, Wisconsin that is going to hold the same values as the 70%ers and start moving that needle forward. You know what I mean?
Right. How do we decide that when politics is all about these empty promises that people, I don't feel like anybody that gets on the podium to give their speech about what they're going to do I think it's all just a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, this is what I want to do, or I'm going to do this. I think
we should all start voting for the guy that is unlikely to get voted for.
I like that. I like the understated gentleman, or lady. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be one way or the other, but
or them or they, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Whoever is the underdog in the race is the one that we should vote for.
I never liked a grandstander. I was never appreciative of someone who, hey, look at me.
So you didn't like Trump at all?
You want my true output on Trump? I'll be quick.
That's what we're here for.
I'll be real quick.
We don't lie on this show.
I've never watched an episode of Apprentice. Okay, so the reason being is because in the 90s, and my dad was still alive at the time, and he was a dyed-in-the-wool Republican, and myself as well. He and I sat and watched what he did to Atlantic City. And he declared bankruptcy several times over. He destroyed small businesses. He destroyed people's lives. And what really pissed me off was he got onto his airplane after that, after signing bankruptcy papers with his lawyers. He got on his airplane. He washed his hands in his little gold sink, and he went on to the next thing. He decimated small businesses. He decimated people's lives in Atlantic City in the 90s. Honestly, I haven't liked him since. I've got to say, I am very Republican. I'm very conservative in so many of my ideals but the man himself, Trump himself, I never appreciated. He is of the zero-sum game. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to win, you've got to lose. That's the only way that it works with that type of an environment, is that I'm going to win and these people are going to lose. And I like people that say, okay, I want to win. I want you to win. I want us all to move forward together. And I'm not talking about his presidency. He did some damn good things as president. He put in some really good policy. and everything else. But at the end of the day, what I saw in the 1990s, what he did in Atlantic City is, hey, it's me, and to hell with the rest of you. I've got to save my butt, and I don't care who falls from there. And I've not liked him since 1992, I believe, is when that all really started to get going. And then by 97, he had pretty much killed off Atlantic City. That's just my so I guess I had a chip on my shoulder against the man for a long time, and so no, I did not vote for Trump.
Okay.
But like I said, while he was in office, when he was actually doing, and don't get me wrong, those Democrats were up one side and down the other on this, that, and the other thing. You should have just let him do his thing and then done their best to vote him out in 4 years. No. But no, they screwed with him and they wasted all his time and this and that. But he honestly did do some really good stuff. And but I just never liked that personality. That personality is a taker.
Maybe he felt guilty about the Donald Trump back then, and now he feels that he could fix things.
I didn't see that. Trump University, there's so many other things that came along after.
I just like his negotiation skills.
And he did that. And he did have some of that. And he did have some really good policies on our economy that he put into place, and that should, over the long haul, as long as Biden doesn't dismantle each and every one of them, they should, in fact, help our economy grow and help the businesses. Not all of them, but there's still some there, and hopefully some will maybe emerge as Biden gets out. But as a person, I do not like that personality at all, and so that was my big rub. I don't like takers. I don't like people that take.
So
I think we should honestly push the narrative that we should vote for the person least likely to succeed in the race, because the Democrats and Republicans that are out there that are being backed by the
RNC party, and the DNC, but they're always going to be. I know they're going to be neck and neck.
They have enough money to do whatever they want.
Right.
Whereas the little guy,
are you talking about a third party,
trying
Mike?
to get in to make some changes.
Are you talking about a third party?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know that a third party will go.
I don't
know
that.
Like,
I would love the Libertarian Party to come to, or the Constitution Party to come up and just take it. That would be ideal.
Why can't? I mean, if we all collectively voted for them, then they are in office. What's stopping it?
I can see that, but you've got too many people that go in, and my cousin's one of them. She walks in the door, and it doesn't matter who's on that ballot. She'll throw the switch Republican. My sister will throw that switch Democratic. She doesn't give two rats.
I know, and
who
that's
is
how most
individually.
people are, which is really confusing when you look at the fact that Biden won the federal presidency, and then down the ticket, the Republicans pretty much took it. But
I like your idea of voting for the underdog, but in the primaries, okay? So let's say that the Democrats they're pushing for this senator, and but in the Democratic ticket, there's a couple of other guys that aren't getting pushed by the Democrats. They're the little guy. They're maybe from a small town. Maybe they're just from a little area.
The only way that we're going to upset this whole system and get real change is by telling them that your freaking process doesn't work. Screw you. We're going to, as Americans, we're going to do it this way.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Because who made the DNC?
Stay in line,
right. Who made the DNC
continue to do it the way they want us to do it is just towing the rope. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to do that anymore.
We all need to come together and get for a write-in. Let's go, Brandon. Write-in candidate. Write-in candidate. Across the board, just like shock the shit out of them. I know that's not going to happen, but it's wishful thinking.
Right. I don't know. I like the term limit ideas. I do. I like the idea of having, just like with the presidency, you get 8 years maximum, and do what you can do. I like that a lot, and I agree that it would be a huge.
Do what you can do and get the hell out and go back in the private.
Right. Because if you had an 8-year time limit, if that clock starts ticking at year one, you're going to want to try to accomplish something so you can have a legacy, but you're not going to get all comfortable and just sit and
complacent. Like, these are the rules I can break. I really think that the hand of greed has pushed, I mean, capitalism, yes, we know that's a system that will allow people to grow and they're
Right.
But I believe that there are a lot of people in politics in the government sector that have taken advantage of all of the perks that they get, or that they know the rules, they know how to get, like Obama, he's like, oh, I was a constitutional scholar. And I'm like, well, then how come you don't know the Constitution and you're not trying to protect it? He was always trying to change it. So you can't tell me that he was a constitutional scholar for the good of the Constitution. He was, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of these politicians are the same way. So this is what we get away with, and I'm going to continue to do that as long as I get voted for, and as long as they keep getting money from Pfizer and Merck and
Well, we got to put a stop to that too, don't we?
money and politics. Yeah,
I mean,
there
I
should
don't
be a
know.
cap. Like you all get like $100,000 to spend. Well, I know that's
Right. Why can't I don't know? Why can't we come together and say, okay, every network has to give this many hours to the politicians, and that doesn't cost anything, and we do away with this
because
whole.
you can't do anything as far as free enterprise when it comes. You can't make people do things in free enterprise. Well,
Agreed.
unless your free enterprise is.
Okay, well,
I'm not going to say the V word.
Let's do this then. Okay, Medicare, right? So if a hospital takes a Medicare patient in, they have to take exactly what the government says they're going to take, no more, no less. Oops, sorry. So they have to take this much money. Okay, so why don't we have a national pool of advertising dollars that Republicans get half, Democrats get half, and that's it, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
So because right now everybody's out drumming up money from all these huge corporations and all these huge donors, and that's inherently biased.
Right.
You are inherently going to vote to make Pfizer more money because they gave you $1 million into your PAC.
Right.
Why can't we? Let's get rid of that, or at least curtail that.
Because the people that are making those rules are the ones that are benefiting from it the most.
Okay, so we the people have a special vote. At the next major election, there's a little box in the next major election that says
who's going to put that little box? Mike, you're going to put that little box. I don't think they're going to. And here's the thing. They have so much control now that they're not going to let it go. And they've gotten to the point where they're not even being straight with us about what their agenda is, much less going to allow us to put somebody on a ticket that would not be with that agenda, nor are they ever going to give us the people, the government, our current leaders have forgotten, are actually not forgotten. They are ignoring the fact that they work for us, not the other way around.
That's true.
So they work for us, and it has gotten out of control.
Right. I agree.
On that note, we will talk to you guys next week. Thanks for joining the 70% podcast. I'm Amy Alexander.
I'm Mike Sewell.
Please like, comment, share. Join us next week. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And Nate, the producer. We're out.
And as Mike would always say,
No doubt.